Being at Cisco for almost 14 years, I realized that I had some knack for translating technical concepts into business value.
So hello everyone, today we have Anupama here. She came to the US in the early 2000s, surviving the dot-com bubble and how it was like to come to the US in early 2000s to making transformative decisions, working at Broadcom right now. And Broadcom, we all know, it's found in the chips of iPhones, wireless chipsets, and it is one of the biggest chips company as well. Let's see her transformation and what we can learn from her experience in tech industry from the last 20 years. So hi Anupama, can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, Harno. Thanks for having me. Sure. So I started my career as a software engineer and before transitioning to technical marketing at Cisco. And there I worked on designing and building new models for technology adoption through Cisco validated design program. I think most of the you guys have heard about it probably. And we delivered market leading solutions for various network architectures. And currently I'm in product marketing at VMware by Broadcom, focusing on our software defined edge business. And currently I work with cutting edge technologies that particularly in edge computing, then telco cloud and SASE. And I'm based in Bay Area.
Awesome. So let's start with your journey after pursuing computer engineering in Hyderabad to coming to US and switching into marketing, because marketing in the US in the early 2000s was around a bubble of people. Only certain kind of people were able to, and it was very dominated by those people. So how did you penetrate that market?
Yeah, sure. So I think my background is a little bit unique. I think, like you described, so I went to school in computer engineering and I started off my career obviously as a software engineer at Cisco. And this technical foundation was really crucial for me as it gave me literally a thorough foundation of the products from the ground up, right? Like how are we building and etc. So it almost like gave me a close up view of how tech was changing being in Cisco. So my I think my time the whole time at Cisco was like almost like a front row ticket in the tech evolution that I was seeing, right? As I worked on various projects, I started seeing a gap between our technical capabilities and as well as how we are communicating to the customers. So this realization actually was a turning point for me. So I found myself like increasingly drawn to the challenge of explaining our like complex technologies like with various different architectures and everything in a ways that resonated with our customers, as well as like we were working with various partners at the time at Cisco. And then it was almost like I would say an intentional choice for based on certain factors that I would say. So I enjoyed the process of like crafting narratives around our products and seeing that aha moment in customers, right? Like when they see their eyes lit up and then, oh, this is how these solutions are actually solving their problems, right? And then I saw the opportunities like to scale my influence, like moving from shaping a single product as an engineer to defining the whole market strategy for the entire portfolio of products, right? And I was really inspired by the dynamic role of these technical marketing engineers at Cisco. They were playing. They had like both best of both the worlds, right? They had technical depth as well as strategic market impact, and I knew I really wanted to play in that space. And so I think taking that technical marketing engineer role was almost like my first big step, right? And I think as a TME, I think I truly found my stride in bridging that gap between like from engineering and also like market facing teams. And like for example, like I was doing like white papers, and sometimes I was presenting at conferences, and I think using my deep technical expertise to communicate the true value of our products to the market was really like very intriguing and also challenging at that time, right? So then actually I think my experience as TME also I think shaped me in a ways that I am right now here. Like I think it hold my ability to like I think what I mentioned about compelling narratives, like that resonated with the broad audience when I was presenting at these conferences, right? And also like C-level executives were coming to our booths and talking about it. So I think that natural progression actually allowed me to focus not just about the product itself, but also how these technologies are solving real business problems or challenges, right? And now, as a product marketing lead at Broadcom, I think formerly VMware, from where I come from, and I'm blending all these experiences that I have like gathered towards this journey, and I use this technical background every day and to focus on just building like the strategies that drive the adoption of our products, right? And actually demonstrating the true business value or impact our software defined edge products are actually doing it. So I think I would say the key to success is just like staying connected to both the technology as well as the market. So it's not just about ensuring that our innovations are like communicated, but also they should drive some value to our customers, in turn obviously getting some revenue and everything, right? And I think it's this technology is like so dynamic that it's like every day we see a new change in this landscape, and that's what excites me, and that's what I love to work to do essentially.
And at the time, like, what were the major challenges in software engineering that people can learn from, and people take it for granted? Our generation take it for granted because there are so many resources. At the time, they were so limited.
One thing is like I think the resources, I would say, from a technology perspective, or also the guidance perspective, I would say that has been the challenging, right? I think we were prescribed, I would say. I think technology is fun. It keeps changing all the time. That hasn't changed.
Yeah, and many people say the rate of change has tremendously increased. Earlier,
Yes.
what used to happen in, like, let's say 10 years, the changes people in 1990 to 2000s, what they saw in 10 years, it's happening in just 2 years. The speed of change is happening in 2 years. And it's predicted in like next 40 years, what we see in 2 years might happen in few months or days. So that's why it's very important to learn. And I see your profile, you are continuously learning. You have been learning the non code AI tools at MIT, which you finished. You also did your MBA at Stanford, the Executive MBA. It's very exciting. So, what do you think has been the most turning point in your career?
So I can probably like I don't think there's one single point, to be honest. Maybe I can just talk to you through like some key learnings that I have taken from my career, right?
Yes.
That I can talk to you about. I think, like I said, I think having worked in diverse environments, like worked in big companies as well as one of the startup companies,
Like
and it has
Cisco,
its
HP, startups. So we can talk about all the learnings in each. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. I think collaboration and networking, which has been the biggest key. And I think in such large organization, I think you kind of like learn how to build strong relationship with your peers, as well as across different teams, different business units, right? And I think it's really crucial for driving any initiatives forward for achieving success. That's the biggest experience that I learned. And then obviously like that, because it was my first job, I think I learned how to navigate the whole corporate landscape and corporate complexities, right? I think it helped me like leverage my technical expertise as well as different expertise to solve certain problems. And then I think when I went to Pika 8, it's a different environment. It's a very small startup. And I had to learn to be adaptable and wearing multiple hats. I think, startup environments, like you are always changing deadlines and everything. So you need to be able to adapt to those changes. And again, the roles are not like often very fluid in terms of like this is the specific role, right? So you need to be ready to like to step out of your comfort zone. And I think that helped me like I think to understand that um, uh, how do you rapidly change solutions when there's a different opportunity elsewhere, right? I think you are like working very what do you call, you become very nimble in that. And so nimble is fast and fast witted, like you immediately deliver, you change.
Fail fast, right? That's a principle from startups people learn, as you mentioned.
Yeah,
Nimble,
yeah.
I see.
That's what makes it very flexible, and also like you are flexible to your customers, so you're adapting to the changes your CEO is, because you're actually in front of your CEO, because being a startup, that's what is the advantage of having that. And then actually, and now at Broadcom, it's completely different, right? Like I think I'm learning the importance of strategic thinking and vision, because as you see these emerging technologies, like we have so much of different technologies that we are working on, and it shows, like I think it's really critical for leaders, especially like the way they are thinking about these new trends that are even not there, but in the future that's coming up. So that's like you have the vision for the future opportunities. So that is really what I have learned being in this role currently. And I think also obviously, like how do you prepare leading teams, and being in this fast-paced world, and leading with all this complexity of diverse culture and everything. So that's what I think I would say my key learnings have been.
Awesome. So, in your trajectory, like you have been a leader at Cisco. So, what is the framework you followed to convince leaders and to make a change in that dominated market?
I think being women in tech, the roles that I have played involved making certain big decisions. And it's about bringing some unique and diverse perspective to a particular role, right? I think that's what I feel to the table essentially. And I think it's about balancing some data driven insights, and with intuition obviously, and then empathy, having empathy, and then while ensuring that making sure that each decision has meaningful impact across obviously teams as well as the organization, and that has broader impact as a whole, right? Essentially, positioning of a new technology category. I don't know if you know this, usually in the market, we have this analyst ratings, like you have a market that you create. I don't know if you heard about Gartner Magic Quadrant.
No, I have
Maybe.
not heard.
Okay, yeah. So essentially, like each technology has a category in the market. And I think our team, what we saw is an opportunity to bridge that gap between existing technologies and emerging customer needs, right? So they create this market essentially. That's the market fit that we are talking about. So we are trying to, that's the bigger decision, like as to how do we, essentially, since it's a new technology market that we are trying to penetrate into. So the challenge was this concept didn't align with the existing analyst market categories, right? So which meant we had to make a certain strong case for our key industry analyst that this is the reason why you need to recognize this particular category. So for that, it's not very easy to make that penetration, right? I think it takes a lot of high stakes decisions, and internally, like how do you position your product, how do you shape the future of market opportunities. And essentially what it does is, like, you need to work with all the cross functional team, right? It's a big decision that you need to work with the product teams, sales teams, and your engineering team to kind of make sure that you build a product that fits into that market essentially. And I think making decisions, I think it's I usually, I follow certain few principles when I'm trying to make certain decisions, even if it's a small set of decisions that I need to make to influence the bigger decisions, right? I think it's mainly comes down to what is a customer centric focus, because I'm in product marketing. It's always about customer centric focus, and how does this solve real customer pain points, right? We are building a product, but does it really solve the pain point for them? And if the decision isn't creating a value for the customer, and it doesn't value it, it shouldn't design with align with our goals, right? That's how we kind of do that categorization. And then, like, again, what I mentioned about data driven insights, right? I think for me, I think data has been like really grounding those decisions based on data, backed by data, is important to combine not only our clear understanding of our market, as well as our human factors that are involved, like I mentioned, the different stakeholders that are involved. And then obviously, like, strategic collaboration, like we need to make sure that everybody is in sync with the decision, and it should not be like we are making decision happen in a vacuum, right? It should make sure that we are all aligned. And I think this whole experience of like especially this particular project that I'm mentioning, I think it taught me like really importance of positioning of our products, but also not only that, it actually reinforces like how do we push for innovation in the industry. I think there are many challenges, but I think that's rewarding, as well as I think it always comes with its own challenges.
So by coming with customer-centric approach, number two with data-driven approach, and number three diverse opinions, you were able to make it big in product, right?
Yes,
So
that's
now let's talk about the program you recently took from MIT, the No Code AI program. What motivates you to continuously learning?
what keeps me committed to this continuous learning is not only the impact that it has on my career, but also the ripple effect that it has, right? I think because when I understand new technologies like better, I'm able to actually contribute more to the organization, more to my team, actually able to help guide the teams and making certain decisions when I'm actually trying to solve certain business problems, right? And I think that for me is like, I think, bigger decision making process. And especially why I decided the MIT no code AI is what you asked. So I think for those who find like AI intimidating, and obviously I felt the same way when I started seeing all these posts on LinkedIn, especially in the coding aspect. I think no code AI tools, like there are like I was surprised to see there are so many no code open source tools, actually, like platforms like Data IQ, Nime, and Rapid Miner. Like literally, there are so many open source tools that is free of cost that professionals can download, and and it can be like for various fields, right? It's not specific to any particular field. I think then they can actually explore what AI is like in practical terms, like giving a real use cases. How do you apply that into this complex program without actually writing single line of code? That's amazing, right? And I think it's exciting to see how all these tools are democratizing AI essentially, and I think making accessible with diverse skills, so there no longer that fear of code needs to happen, right? I think this is certain program I really felt that is useful for professionals who are busy, and also who are not new, I mean, who don't want to code, right? I think that's why I think this decision, I think it's a good program that I felt it's applied to the new use cases, because they were actually giving us practical use cases from real company. And we were working on with different teams from different backgrounds, and actually focusing was mostly on like how do we work with the data, like how do we make AI informed business decisions, right? I think that's the reason I took this particular even though there are so many courses out there, wonderful ones, this one is what appealed me most.
So would you recommend this for the leaders, and how it has impacted your work life at Broadcom?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think I believe that embracing these solution for especially this taking these kind of courses really helped me to contribute like more from think from whenever I see any data within our organization, I'm thinking more like can I use these tools to kind of apply business decisions. That is the biggest takeaway from this particular course, right? You're actually like it's almost like an opportunity to kind of link through the data and tie in the intelligence from a business perspective. So you can it really helps to kind of design your programs or even internal tools itself, right? Now you are thinking, whenever I'm like talking to different folks from a sales team and that they're talking these numbers or data that they are hearing from the customers, I'm always like, oh, okay, this is how you can do it, so this is how you can do it. So, and especially just to understand different what do you call, how do you model and test it out, and how can you fine tune all those different terminology that AI talks about with these tools.
And this course was completely online?
Yeah, it's completely online, but obviously it's an led by MIT professors, and it's an online course that you can take. And this was, like I told, the some of the tools that they introduced us, it's open source, so you don't need to pay anything. So yeah, here you go.
Amazing. And after that, also, you still continued to learn and got an MBA at Stanford. That's an executive MBA. So, can you please share who is this MBA for and how it impacted you?
Yeah, sure. I think obviously, like another aspect of like my decision for pursuing Stanford lead was another, I would say, like a turning point in my career, because I felt, and obviously the reasons are very personal, right? Deeply personal. And actually, one of the main reasons why I decided to pursue an MBA in the first place, right? I think as Indian women raised in this collective society, right? I think we are always taught to kind of put your head down, get the work done, and you expect that. I think our parents have always think that we have so much brilliance that our work itself will is enough for recognition or advancement. But actually, when I entered the American corporate workspace, I quickly realized that it was there was a significant gap between like how we were taught, and so I had to do a lot of unlearnings that I have done and approach in a different way. So I quickly realized that in order to get some visibility or self advocacy or even leadership presence, right, I think are just as crucial or as critical, especially as a woman of color in this corporate world. So that realization led me to kind of like find which program should I do, and what like should I do MBA programs and everything. But as a mother of two and having a full-time job, and I think it was not practical to go to a full-time MBA program for me, and I stumbled upon this Stanford lead program, which is completely online and led by the professors. Stanford, I can talk more about lead, and then I think
Sure.
that lead program since it's online, for me it was really perfect solution for me in my busy schedule, right? The flexibility that it gave me essentially. So I think one of the main I think lead, it's a LEAD, and I
Mhm.
think the what it means is like, I think learn, engage, accelerate, and disrupt. So that actually particularly like those who are really aspiring for leadership, and who want to develop the strategic skills, right? And who want to need to advance their careers. I think that's what this program is all about. So I think one of the main standing aspects of this program, why I chose it, was the faculty itself, right? Many of these professors actually teach in Stanford's MBA program. So they offer almost like we have access to their inquiries. So you can actually book certain time with them personally. So you can go and meet them in person in the Stanford campus, and actually having direct access to this world class education, right? Like I think it's like 100% online format, but at the same time having this access is like it's like a gift for me for when I saw this program, right? And another aspect that I found with this lead program especially is the classmates, like this diverse community. These are industry professionals who are already in their mid or senior level management, right? You are, and it's not specific to my like industry, right? They are coming from different professions. One is like a doctor who is trying to open up being the chief of the whole hospital. So they are doing this program. And one example is like they want to start a founders who want to start a company and lead. So there's different reasons why this. So you are actually talking with these different industry leaders, and you are missed among them. And the beauty about it is like everybody is like very transparent to you. They are giving you feedback, and you're engaging with them and hearing their different perspectives of how they perceive certain problem, right? That is the biggest booth. And I think actually I don't think I mentioned this. Like there's another best part is the online community itself. Even after graduating, we have access to this online community. So they created this, I think, Facebook's workforce kind of online community that they created, where you can actually network as well as meet other alumni from various cohorts. And actually that keeps, they organize webinars, they organize in-person events, and you get to go meet the industry leaders, have one-on-one setups and different things, right? Not just limited to the courses that we have taken, but you are like into this wealth of education that Stanford offers. That is what actually appealed me the most.
And the biggest thing is like you can learn everything online right now, but a program like this forces you to implement, and that you remember for life and you can implement in your workforce later, right? That's what
Exactly.
the biggest part is. And
Yeah.
alumni network, which you mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. I think whenever I learned something in the concept, you immediately apply to go back and apply in your workforce. That is like it's very hard to find such a program that really applies to your day-to-day career, right? And how can you make an impact directly, and how can you accelerate in your career? That's what, because you're immediately applying the principles that you learned in the class, which is like amazing.
Totally. And talking about Stanford MBA, there are two type of programs. One is LEAD that you mentioned, the one you took, right? The other
Mhm.
one is actually MBA. So how did you decide that you should do LEAD versus an online MBA? And what expertise you focused on? Finance, leadership, etc.
Yeah, I think that's a great question, because I think that's the question that I've been asked many times, right? I think the executive program, the lead, let me talk about the finances aspect of it, right? First, that will give you some idea as to why, one of the reasons why I took it. The cost of the program itself is like around $20,000, and I think the program cost, I think it consists in general about like 9 courses that you have to take to get the certificate. And that dives into, like, there are 4 mandatory courses that you take for the program, which is like, I think it's around like leadership, and then finance, innovation, and then critical analytical thinking and strategic leadership. And I think after that, then you can choose 5 electives based on where you want to go, right? I think when comparing lead to a traditional MBA, I think it is important for anybody that to note that it's like no one size fits all. Essentially, so the better option really depends on your individual circumstances, like career goals and learning preferences, right? I think lead was perfect for me because I needed the flexibility of an online program that allowed me to immediately, like, really apply what I learned in my current role. And the focus on the was for me was on leadership and strategy, and that aligned really well with my career goals that I had at that time. So I learned to approach, like, my goal was to how do I apply or approach complex problems like more systematically, like how do I understand organizations dynamics better, like how do I reframe negotiations or collaborative exercises, how do I manage stress in like this high pressure situations, how do I communicate more efficiently. So those were the reasons for me why I took the lead program, right? And that has been my 5 electives that I kind of like set on. So there was this course called design thinking, there was course was on negotiation, there was course on neuroscience, actually there was course on power course. I can talk more about power later, but I think it's an amazing course that you should take, whoever takes the lead. But I think you talked about traditional MBA, right? I think a traditional MBA, I mean, given the time commitment and everything, I would definitely take traditional MBA. But I think it might be very suitable for, like, for example, like who are in their early career. I think looking for more immersive experience, like they want to do in-person networking. I think traditional MBA is really good for them, right? And I think MBA programs like often offer like those kind of programs, like literally offer deeper dives into certain subjects. Like we did financing innovation in 8 weeks, but they will be going for almost like a quarter, right? So there is a difference in how these programs are perceived. And then I think it's crucial for everybody who wants to go into this journey, like to kind of like research various programs. There are so many programs now. Previously it was not like that, but now there are so many programs out there. Like consider your own preferences, like think carefully, like talk to the people who have taken these courses or the programs, and understand where you are career stage is, current career stage, like what is your time availability look like, financial situation looks like, and I think your long-term career aspirations, right? I think weighing all those pros and cons based on your unique situation will really help to decide on which path you should go. I think what really struck me, like from lead, I would say this because I haven't taken the full-time MBA. I would say that what struck me is the perfect balance, essentially like the world-class education with Stanford professors, and at the same time network opportunities in this Bay Area in a flexible format. What more could I ask, right? I think that's really worked for me in my busy life, I would say.
How did you manage being a young mother and doing a full-time job as a leader, taking billion-dollar decisions, plus an MBA program? So how do you manage everything?
It was definitely not easy. So it was really very, very hard. And I think time management becomes really crucial, right? I think one aspect of that is like every minute of my day was really important. I did not go to many of my meeting my friends. So I found myself like studying late at night, early in the morning before they went to the school. My kids went to the school, or weekends were split by like, I think, doing homeworks and family time, right? And then I think especially like I think support is really essential for certain programs like this, right? I think having a family support or support of your network of your friends and colleagues, I think it's really helpful in working on these projects that we are assigned to. So we are giving this like given massive amounts of homeworks that you are really figuring out how do I do this business sheet now, right? How do I make this decision? All those it was very challenging. And then obviously like you need to make sure that your work life balance doesn't get impacted. And I think learning, you have to prioritize. I think almost like you learn how to say no. Very hard in the work. Start learning how do you say no in the work without taking up everything on you. And I think you prioritize like these things over your exercise or relaxation, essentially. But despite all these things that I mentioned, which seem to be very scary, I think the growth I experienced is immeasurable, right? I think I really learned so much. I learned the resilience, like I gained like deep appreciation for the management, because most importantly, like I was really like hoping to set an example for my own kids, and wanted to make sure that I teach that perseverance and like the value of education itself. That's what I really wanted to show them.
Excellent. And how do you make sure that your skills never outdate? Because currently, I think most of the people, when they grow up their career, in their late career, they fear that their skills might outdate and they might struggle to find jobs. Do you feel that's fear in
I
value?
don't think for me, fear was never the factor for learning, right? I think it was more of the curiosity that I always want to learn. And I think for me, that kept me active as well as like up to date to the current trends, right? Whenever I see a new technology that's coming up, I really want to understand the details about as much as I could, right? Obviously there are certain concepts that I don't go deep dive, but I think there are certain level of curiosity that I get sparked when I see certain innovations, like how did they do it, right? I think that's what I think
And do you feel FOMO around you? Because now 15 to 22-year-old are getting accepted to YC. They're creating their own startup. It was rare in the past. So, uh, what do you think about this?
Do I feel FOMO? I don't think so. Not at all. Actually, what I feel is like what I just described, right? Like curiosity and excitement about how fast this landscape is like evolving, right? And I think especially like with AI now, right? I think instead of focusing on like what others are doing, I always like I think prioritize on this learning aspect of it and how do I adapt this changing technology environment, right? I think my approach is like I think like I mentioned, right, you embrace the innovation and you're actually looking for how do you integrate this technology into your processes, like ensure like you have some practical ways of applying to your work directly. And then like main thing is I think especially with AI, my biggest concern is about the ethical integration. Like if you are not well connected or you don't understand the concept of AI itself, like how do you make sure that it is ethical, right? I think that's what I think I want to make sure that everybody learns it and understand and contribute to the practic like good of AI, right? Like ensuring making sure the innovation and integrity that we need to kind of go hand in hand is what I feel. And that's what that's the reason I always encourage everybody, like my kids and the mentees that I teach. I think that's has been right really like you should know it irrespective of what your role or position is. And again the adaptability aspect of it, right? Like you need to be able to adapt to the change that is happening. And I think being very flexible and I think being prepared like and able to pivot whenever you want to, I think is the key for thriving in this like constant environment.
Totally. And in the end, what advice you would give to the young generation? Because currently, after COVID, many of them have, like, including me, like, we have so little attention span that, like, I see even people younger than me switching songs every 10 seconds. Their attention span for songs, staying in a classroom, even like, listening to a speech is horrible right now. And I think Chamath, he's one of the founders from Silicon Valley. He mentioned that there are some schools in UK, they are actually forcing students to switch their SIM card to a candy bar phone so
Mm.
that they don't scroll TikTok in the classroom. So what advice you will give to young generation or young parents?
Yeah, definitely. I think the advice that I give to the young generation, which I give it to my kids all the time, I think especially like who are entering this world of tech, right? I think mainly like stay curious, but obviously like stay resilient and also like don't be afraid to take risk, right? And I think there is a difference in like when you mention about the example of TikTok itself, I think it's uh, I think staying curious is always good, but I think making it like the addiction part of it is not good. So I think probably like I think embracing this technology in a way that actually sets you apart is always good, but not to a point that actually it helps your mental health, right? I think that's the key. I would say don't uh, take it too much or take it too much into your heart that it affects your mental health day to day working. And I think there's so much out there in the world which is really harmful that there needs to be a filter that you need to kind of adhere to. And I think that's the technology still provides that filter that you need to kind of like give that upper hand to that technology to stop it and be happy. And I think for young women like entering STEM, especially like I would say that because right now actually I'm mentoring through Breakthrough Tech. It's a program for young women, I think all the young leaders, essentially like to make sure like don't be afraid to speak up, especially like women. And I think share your ideas and mainly take ownership of your work, right? And I think finding mentors who can support your journey in your work, build strong professional networks, and continue to invest in your skills, right? I think both technical as well as soft skills. I think that's really needed. And I think finally, like give back. give back to the community, right? As you move forward, I think whether through mentorship or community involvement or the impact you make on others is really meaningful, is what I feel, and actually make the world a safe and a better place to be, right? And I think you have all the technology and skills that you can advance in your career, but to make the world a better place, I think whether through ethical AI or sustainable innovation or whatever, right? The community involvement, I think there's so much scope and there's so much positive impact that technology can make. So make better use of it is what I would suggest.
Wonderful. And if you feel comfortable, can you share what career goals you have now?
So I think it's along the same similar lines about what I mentioned about strategic leadership, and those are my, how do I be a better leader and how do I become an effective leader is my career goal essentially.
Excellent. Awesome. Thank you so much, Anupama. It was wonderful talking to you. Gained a lot of wisdom from you. I hope this video helps out our future generation learn how they can make big, irrespective of how dominant that market is, how much of a bubble they want to penetrate into, they can still make it. Thank you so much for inspiring.
Thank you
Uh-huh.
so much, Harnu, for having me.
Pleasure. Uh-huh.